Hi, welcome to the panel where we're just going to get to know each other. And you guys get to watch.
We just met.
Watch us learn about channels from one another.
What is this panel called?
It's called the YouTube panel.
YouTube!
We're gonna let you guys decide what that means. I'm sure we can share some stories, and I'm sure you guys have some questions. But
I already got my questions.
Yeah, we didn't pick like a format or anything.
Should we introduce ourselves?
Sure, yeah, let's do it.
There you go, John. There you go. Good job. That's how we should start.
Look at that professional.
Are we starting over here or over there?
Over there.
All right. Hi, I guess I'll start. My name is Rich. I go by RichaardEB on YouTube. I do,
That one.
Thank you. I do metal covers from video games, anime, movies, TV shows, you name it. I'm probably most well known for some Toho covers as well as some Undertale covers and an Undertale fan album called Determination and Determination Purple Side that came out a few years ago. And yeah, since then I've been kind of working with these two as well as various other vocalists trying to become what I like to refer to as the DJ Khaled of anime metal covers.
So what you're saying is, you're not big on oral, right? Sorry,
let's not go there.
Family friendly.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be family friendly.
Your words, not mine.
My bad.
Not even 2 minutes in.
That's my first panel of the weekend too.
We don't know them. Actually, we don't.
Wait, are there any cameras? Are we live streaming?
Yeah, there's one right there.
Oh,
my
crap.
bad. I'm sorry, Metrocon.
There's like there are 3 inside. Like,
I'll do better.
It's a fun time.
Can you guys just like edit that one part out?
Oh damn, there's 3. All right.
Type Kappa in chat.
Anyway.
Okay.
I'm Caleb Hyles. That's me, and I do anime and Disney and what other Broadway covers and top 40 every now and then. So that's what I do. I do vocal covers predominantly, and I very much enjoy doing it. So I'm happy, and I very much like YouTube a whole lot. Hey, John, what about you?
Hello, my name is Jonathan Young. I have a YouTube channel sometimes, and I'm best known for metal covers of Disney songs, English covers of anime songs, meme trash, and
everyone's favorite.
And
Let's go.
I sing, I produce music, yeah.
All right, well, I guess that side of the table is like the talented musical people. This side is the horribly nerdy people, because we all do a show called Death Battle, where we analyze... So you know who we are! We analyze characters and pit them in a fight to the death and see who wins. So I'm Ben. I play one of the hosts, Wiz, and I write the show.
Khalifa.
Hi, I'm Chad. I make out-of-place, inappropriate jokes on panels. Also, I play boomstick. So.
I'm Tori, and I'm super fascinated by my name being on this piece of paper.
Did you have to read it?
Yeah, I like it.
I
like looking. I know it's for you guys, but I like looking at it.
It's like,
I'm a 3D animator on Death Battle, and also other Rooster Teeth properties.
Well, this is not a usual thing for us when we go to panels.
I know, right?
Like, this is super pro.
Yeah, so I'm just going to look at
Name
it.
tags.
I'm Torrian Crawford, so you guys don't forget because I'm going to look at it.
Good luck.
I'm Jonathan Young.
oh yeah, wait a minute.
There we go.
Now it was better than...
Don't cross the streams.
That's PG-13. That's fine.
That guy made that inappropriate DJ Khaled
Wow,
joke. It wasn't me.
Torrian Crawford.
Hello, I'm Caleb.
This is fantastic.
I do music videos on YouTube.
That's how you pad 2 minutes of a panel out with name tags.
Jonathan Richard.
How long is this panel? Do we have like an hour?
I was just now told an hour and 20 minutes.
Hour and 20.
Get cozy.
You gotta make this
Relax.
entertaining for an hour
I
and a
brought
half.
3 beverages for a reason.
Somebody
I
sing it.
realized you have so many.
I don't know why I have all these.
One's like baby formula and a Monster.
You just like bought one of everything.
Have you never seen a naked juice before?
That is
baby's
really good. I
mouth.
had that this morning. It's really good.
All of you are toddlers.
I set you up perfectly, man. You let me down. There was low-hanging fruit right there.
You
for
want something like
Naked
healthy.
fruit.
You're like tired, and you want like something clean with the water. Like
Yeah.
you got a lot going on.
I've also been awake for like 20 hours.
Oh, me too. That's why I have to
loving it,
keep
though.
reminding
cheer for
myself
that.
what my name is.
No, that's unhealthy.
Torrian Crawford.
Yeah, I was up at 2:45 to catch our flight, so it's been a Like that.
It's the Red Eye crew over there.
Yeah.
Including you.
What are we doing for this panel, guys?
I don't
What
know,
are we gonna
man.
talk about?
We're just hanging out.
See, I thought you guys set up this panel.
Oh,
No.
So we must have set up this panel. Did we
No.
set up this panel?
Nope. But we're here for
Who
this.
set up this panel?
It was me, sorry.
Okay.
All right, that guy knows what's up. Tell us what's the direction of the panel. You want Q&A? You want to hear story? You want Q&A?
Oh.
Should we
We can
jump
do that.
straight to Q&As, or do you guys have some kind of speech you want to make about how to be a YouTube?
Well,
You know what's terrifying? Being.
Oh, no, he was just
I'm
making a bad
interjecting.
joke.
You started
okay.
something. Go
Trying to
for it.
make banter, you
No, I
know.
was gonna say, you know what's terrifying? Being beholden to an algorithm that you don't control.
I was going to say,
These guys are gonna be friends.
Oh, I like you guys.
Shot James, because that's who you are now.
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
terrible that I'm not going to remember any of your names. after this
I don't
meeting.
want to speak for these guys, but we could spend the entire hour complaining about the YouTube algorithm.
You
Way more than
introduced
that.
yourself to me. You introduced yourself to me as defining yourself as a narcissist of the YouTube algorithm.
I didn't say narcissist. I said some other.
You
bad
said
word.
some
other
pessimist. I said
Same
pessimist.
Close enough.
I said I'm a pessimist.
I've been awake for like 50
Yeah,
hours.
well,
whatever
I mean-
it is.
I've been awake for 100. I'm better.
All right. Well, let's start with some questions, and we'll see where that leads us.
Yeah.
So one thing I really like to do in panels, as opposed to just like trying to determine being like you, and it was actually the person behind you, and then we like watch someone's heart break in real time. Hold up something interesting or
It's just
something that
like
we can
Twilight
call out if
Princess
you have a
Raven.
question. It's like, oh, that Pikachu thing. That
I'm
phone, whatever it
stealing
is.
that, by the way.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
a
these
good
people
idea.
are like, oh yeah, we're gone.
It's either that or we form a line and everybody hates that because then you can't sit
Well, if
down.
you don't have an object or anything to hold up, just hold up a certain number of fingers, I guess.
Yep. Also, thank you guys so much for sticking out for 9 minutes. You're the true heroes.
Damn.
What were you hoping this panel would be? Oh, they're gone.
They're gone.
Okay.
I was gonna do this anyway, but I was planning to put music in it and on the radio for a Deadpool scene. I was gonna do it in the middle of your introduction scene at 1 o'clock.
Oh, but we missed it.
What do you want this panel to be?
Huh?
It sounds like it might be a raid.
This one.
Are we just?
Okay,
Yeah.
now we got soundtrack.
It's a raid.
All right, perfect. You have to hold that up and play it
Yeah,
the
you gotta.
entire
I gotta
panel.
play the entire time.
No.
I also appreciate that it's a movie box.
get so lost sometimes.
Stop.
Let's do it. I thought we were going. All right, it ended. That's fine. But no, seriously.
I don't want you in the. I just don't want you to concentrate on that one. To keep going.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about YouTube then, because I guess
Okay.
that's what the panel is about.
Probably. I know a lot of people
Unfortunately.
are aspiring YouTube creators. Got a lot of questions. So we'd love to answer that kind of stuff and share our experiences with you guys.
Actually, that's a good point. Before we begin answering questions, is there anybody here who is Is there anybody here who is an aspiring YouTube creator? Just raise your hands. I want to just.
Or
gauge.
there we
Twitch
go.
or Facebook
Yeah, or Twitch, anything
whatever.
like that.
Whatever, yes.
So there are a couple. Like maybe about a third. Okay, cool. Okay.
Hopefully,
Just
we
for
can-
future reference as we continue whatever this panel is going to turn into.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
So go ahead. Let's. If you guys have a question, raise something up interesting. And, there we go. You guys want to start?
I don't know how I feel about the shoe.
He put in a lot of effort, so let's go with him. He wanted it the most.
Commendable effort.
Yeah, so put it back on before you have this.
You're sitting
down.
Believe in
It's
yourself.
the YouTube panel, you know.
Just a wholesome panel.
So, specifically for the education of the audience, and I'm sure all of you have very unique answers. So when you're sitting at your channel and you're like, all right, I got to produce some content, aside from content you already have backlogged, what is the process each of you go through on a personal basis to really find the tempo of content that you're cultivating for your community so that it's both feeding your community but also being interesting and compelling enough for non-community members to view?
We're just gonna
Damn.
start with the deepest question of the day. All right, cool.
Yeah.
I got a really simple answer.
Wow.
I got a really simple.
First of all, I like your beard.
It is nice.
And
like your beard.
second of all, that might be the most in-depth question I've ever received on a panel. Very good question.
Or ever will.
We could spend the whole time talking about
we
that.
got our subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the panel. Okay, you took off your shoe and here we are.
and drop the mic.
All right, who's going
do
first?
you guys want to start? You want us to start?
Want to just go down the table?
No.
I can go. I eat a whole bunch of candy and put on a skin-tight suit and put little balls all over me. And I go and record, motions and hope that the audience will like it after the 48 hours it takes me to get all that to work.
Man, not saying you're describing motion capture before and you just go with that. It's
Yeah.
really
No context. I
I'm
thought this
also-
was a joke with a really long punchline.
No.
It is my actual 9 to 9. So.
Well, what's going to be interesting here is that, again, going to the sides of the table, this side of the table is going to have a bunch of different, completely different answers than this side because we are part of a team with different responsibilities for the same videos, whereas these guys produce their own videos individually. So, I mean, all of us go through different ideas of like what makes a good video for our current audience and potential new coming audience.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting thing that evolves over time. Because if anybody's followed Screw Attack for a really long time, we've been around for forever. And what we
almost 12?
Yeah, almost 12 years. And so what we started as was just kind of this like, oh hey, we're just like maybe we like video games, like we're just gonna make videos about that, and we would do like skit shows and like all this sort of stuff. And then Ben had the idea for Death Battle, and Death Battle took off and became this titanic thing. And especially once we brought it to YouTube, and it grew into this like enormous monster. And we realized that like 99% of our audience were there for that, and the other content that we were serving them, even if it was something that we started doing, like they didn't care about that. Like the thing that they enjoyed about Death Battle was that they got to learn new interesting facts about characters that they thought they already knew. They got to laugh along. Basically, as much as there's this stigma around this word, but like infotainment, you're learning while also being entertained, and then also getting to see a badass fight of characters like and cool animation. And so that was a big shift in our YouTube channel because where initially it was like we can kind of do whatever we want, we can just throw something out there and then see it, and then it was like, oh, like this show became this huge thing. And it's our responsibility as creators to serve that audience. And so we took a hard look at the end of like 2016, and then basically pulled like a lot of the older style content off of our channel so that we could focus in on serving that audience. And we love getting to do that. It's kind of taking our creativity instead of being like super like free form and throw anything at the wall and see what sticks. It's like, okay, these are obviously the people that watch our show. These are the people that give us a job. How do we make more content that they're stoked to watch? And so because of that, we really focused in on that kind of like infotainment and animation aspect. And so you notice for the past year, we've had, we really focused in on, we do Death Battle, we do DBX, we do Desk of Death Battle and Top 10s. And that's all those things hit one of those like core pillars of the channel that we feel our audience is there for. And so future shows will absolutely be determined by that. So it's this interesting dynamic where you're still getting to be creative and do what you want to do, but you should be cognizant and 100% appreciative of what your audience wants. Because if you don't serve your audience, they're going to stop watching your stuff. And the only reason that we have a job and we get to be creative and do what we do is because you guys watch our stuff. So it's a very interesting balance to deal with.
Yeah.
This is why we let him talk.
Well, Screw Attack is a kind of unique example in that way because it was started as a company with a purpose to create an online gaming community. And then when Death Battle happened, it kind of took the direction in a different way. But the manager of the company at the time still wanted to maintain that, old way of doing things. And they kind of clashed because the Death Battle audience wouldn't necessarily mesh with the old audience. So what ended up happening is the company actually split into two different companies, Screw Attack and Game Attack. And Screw Attack continues the Death Battle audience, whereas Game Attack continues the older gaming audience, more centralized audience. So, and that kind of stuff doesn't really happen all that often. So it's kind of an interesting example.
But when creating a specific piece of content, it's very important to consider your audience, is basically what I was getting at that. And so, yeah, you get to, we still do stuff we do, especially with Death Battle. So, like, a big part is, like, we have this suggestion form, and when we're planning out our next season, and we do a lot of, suggestions that we're like, oh, these are, like, the top suggestions. We should probably do
for
these.
Matchups.
But then also, like, as creators, like, it's good to like stretch your wings and sometimes just be like, oh man, it would be so much fun if we just did this. No one asked for it, but hopefully they like it. And that's why way back in the day we did like Bucky O'Hare versus Fox McCloud.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good way to build the audience in ways that the current audience wouldn't necessarily expect.
Right.
Like we did last year, we did Smokey Bear versus McGruff the Crime Dog. Like, this is a show that typically does like Batman versus Spider-Man or Goku versus Superman, and then Smokey and McGruff show up. But that's like a kind of episode that you could share with people who wouldn't necessarily, usually watch Batman fighting Captain America or whatever. So that can kind of help grow the channel while still providing the same kind of content. And then, after that, you go back to what is expected. But every so often, like, exploring different avenues, especially when you first start, I think is really important to that.
Yeah. My answer to this kind of question about the balance of content and targeting content is always shrouded in pessimism and bias. So without sounding too jaded, every cover that I do is calculated. Every cover is, well, let me put it this way. For me, it all comes down to self-awareness. And by that, I mean, if you want to be a rapper, one of the best platforms to do that is SoundCloud. If you want to be maybe an indie singer-songwriter, one of the best platforms might be Tumblr. If you want to be an anime cover artist, YouTube. Because the people who like anime run parallel to the people that actively subscribe to channels and comment on channels and actively use YouTube. So being aware of those kinds of like fault lines of content, and if I'm making this type of content, what's the best platform for me to target? I think that's really important, and that goes for anything. That goes for a lot of people who grew up watching Disney movies are now watching One Punch Man and My Hero Academia and stuff like that. So my move into anime from starting out doing Disney covers was very much a calculated move, seeing that there's this Venn diagram where Disney fans and anime fans very much overlap on YouTube, as evident by all of the people here that come to hear us talk about both of those things. But in regards to kind of what you were saying about expanding to a new audience versus targeting your current audience, I think that you should try to make those things one and the same as much as possible, because for running with the example of anime or Disney covers, there's a huge bubble of people out there that would like seeing Disney covers that haven't seen mine yet. And every time I make a Disney cover, not only am I satisfying my existing subscribers that came for Disney, but every new cover is a roll of the dice to attract new potential Disney interested fans. So the more of a catalog of Disney related content I build up, it's like I'm spreading out this net, and the larger of a net that I have, if someone searches Disney cover on YouTube, it's that much more likely that my cover will be there on that list. So thinking of it in this sort of mathematical, over-rational, analytical way can be really lame sometimes and draining, but it is important, and I'm at this point in that regard where in the personal aspect that you mentioned, I have needed to really strictly separate my passion projects from my cover songs, because my channel has become a calculated move, and hopefully I can use my channel to fuel original music or whatever it may be that I really want to pour my heart and soul into, but it's important to know where all of the boundaries lie.
I feel like this is gonna be like the harsh dose of reality, like YouTube panel, because like no, 100%, like when he says that, I can absolutely tell you, like there's so many times, like especially when we're dealing with like fighting the YouTube algorithm, like they made a change about 1.5 years ago that has just absolutely played havoc with certain things, and it chooses what it serves up to other things. And like, for example, like suggested videos are a really huge part of a lot of the content that's easily shareable. So for example, our top 10 lists, like even if you didn't follow Screw Attack or Death Battle or anything we did, anybody can watch a top 10 list on whatever, like top 10 Jurassic Park moments or anything like that. Well, the algorithm determined randomly that was like, oh, well, everyone comes to your channel for Death Battle because it's like Titanic. You release it, you get like 1.3 million views in a week, but then you release like a top 10 and you're getting like 100,000 views, which is still like a solid number for YouTube. But then it decides to stop serving it up in suggested videos. It would rather just serve up Death Battle. So we took a 30% decrease in suggested videos when they just made this change. It just hit us one day. And so because of that, whereas like we were a lot more freeform and we knew like we were gonna get into the suggested videos, we could do these wacky lists because like they're gonna find their way to somebody and we can kind of do whatever. But now because of the way the algorithm behaves, you know, we absolutely will have a meeting and like Nick, our writer for Top 10, like he'll throw some suggestions out, and sometimes I have to be the bad guy and just kind of be like, hey, like that sounds like a fun list, but like from where we're at right now with like the algorithm and what serves up, like we really need to focus in on topics that we know will be a hit with our audience, like hitting like Nintendo, Pokemon, things like that. And that's just like the harsh reality of
Instead of, what was it Sam requested?
Top 10 rises in elevation. Don't get me started.
Oh, that was awesome.
He's like, stairs,
Ladders,
escalators, hills. Like I was like, I don't know.
little movable platforms.
That's a weird level of like avant-garde YouTube.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a market for it.
Hills.
I'd watch it.
Yeah. The economy.
What?
That's amazing. That's awesome.
There's nothing I can. Whenever you started talking about how your experience with YouTube and your process that you go to create and how you're thinking about it, that's like me to a T. You know, because I very much am just wanting to appeal to the people that are here. And I can't, because I talk to a lot of creators as well who are feel really stuck, is a good word for it. They feel really stuck in the content they create. Like they found an audience, and now they just feel like that's all they can do, and they can't be creative outside of it. And I think the way you are portraying it and the way you're painting it is like you can still be really creative within the things that people want to see you for. You know, you don't have to consider. You can either think of it as you're stuck and you're trapped, or you can just make that cage, so to speak, really comfortable and really big and try a bunch of different things. So that's where I feel, because I don't feel trapped in the fact that I do covers, and that's my main thing. I'm just grateful that people want to watch and care about it, and I want to maintain my career because they're passion projects that I want to do that don't involve cover things. But if people aren't like it and they're coming and they're, you know, watching and buying the music and streaming the music and helping me on Patreon or whatever it may be, like I want to satisfy that too, but not necessarily at the expense of like my own creativity as well. But I like how defer to that one on that question. That's how I view it.
Dude, can I just, man, thank you so much for having that. Like I'm sure you guys, like you've met a lot of other creators too, and like there are definitely times when you meet that creator that's just like, oh, I'm so done with, you know, this, and like I don't even care about it, but whatever, I just serve up anything because they'll consume it and it pays the bills, and I'm just like, God, that sucks. Like I hate that mentality. Like and also people who like won't stop to like talk to a fan or things like that. Like that is such a huge deal for me, because it's like, seriously, like I said it before, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, like we would not have a job and get to do what we get to do if you guys didn't watch our stuff. So like if anyone is ever out and you see us going around, and like don't be afraid to like stop us and say hi, like take a picture, sign an autograph, and we don't care. Like again, you're the reason that we get to be creative and get to do this stuff. And so like even if, you know, we are like have found this thing, and yeah, like that's what people want to watch, like finding ways to be creative within that limitation is such a better attitude than just like, well, it's just what it is now. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I like you guys already. We just met, and this is great.
Yeah, dude.
We should go get tea.
Yeah.
Rich?
Yeah,
you're here.
Yeah,
The last one in that.
but I don't have a name.
No. Wait, what happened? That gives like a mystery, like an air of mystery around
Air of
you,
mystery. Right?
Though.
I'm okay. The only thing that I really want to add to that, despite what all has just been said, which is very thorough in regards to that question, that was a really good question, is like how I look at it now, like the idea of like attracting people to your channel, speaking as like a cover artist, is that you kind of want like ideal fans that they visit to see your content because you're appealing to something that they like. Say it's like, I don't know, Undertale or Disney or what have you, but then they stay just because they like your content no matter what it is. The reality of this situation is that most fans are not like that. What I've kind of done in the past is I like to tap into fan bases that are overlooked, I feel like. So not necessarily like Undertale or something, but I took a stab in the dark like a few years ago, and I was like, I don't know, let's try doing some Euro-V covers because people seem to like Initial D, and they did really well. Same thing with Homestuck, same thing with Toho, which is like it's an existent fandom, but like it's been around forever, and people still want to see that stuff. And I don't know, I've kind of been like expanding more in that direction of just trying new things and actually just asking my audience what they want to hear from me, but still once in a while doing something that I want to do. And copy paste everything that they just said. I can't really add any more to it.
Well, that was a good way to use
how,
up 28
yeah,
minutes.
how long was that? 28 minutes?
Hey, that's
Sweet.
a third of the panel. If every question is like that.
1/3 down.
Yeah, it's like Kevin Smith style, right? We take one question and do an entire panel on it. And I'm actually going to add on that very quickly, just at the very end of that, just because I realize like we're all talking from we're all in the situation currently that we have found success on YouTube, and now we're responding to that question from how we're serving this audience that we've already created. And a lot of you guys, if you're looking about starting out, I don't want you to be sitting here thinking like, oh my God, how do I game the system? Like, you know, like how do I like calculate what's going to be? Honestly, like the best thing that you can do to get started on YouTube is be genuine to something that's passionate of what you're passionate about. What can you do that no one else can do, or what you can do in your way that no one else can do? And don't be too worried about like how that's going to affect, because you don't have an audience yet if you're just starting out. So like try things.
Just try
new
stuff.
things.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I just wanted to put that because I realized that we're all talking from that perspective, and I was like, oh, I don't want anybody to walk away being like, oh my God, it's all a game. Like I've got to game the system.
There is the possibility. It's just it's weird.
Like there's an element of gaming the system,
There
but
is.
we're also here because we enjoy what we do, and we reach that point by doing what we enjoy what we do.
Yeah.
So.
All right, cool. Who's picking this one?
29 minutes.
I called the shoes, so someone else. I don't want that pressure. I don't want that pressure.
Chad, you pick one.
All right, cool. We got the Alolan Vulpix right there. Vulpix is my favorite Pokemon, so you got it.
Sorry, I don't want to ignore you guys who do the death battles. I see most of the memes on DeviantArt, and I kind of skip over the fight part and just go for the science and the math.
Dude, thank you. Normally we hear the opposite, so I appreciate that.
Actually amazing.
Real
I
unicorn.
love information. That's kind of why I watch game theory. But
Oh, cool.
my question more is to the cover artists, because I watch them most of the time. In fact, just recently, one of my favorites is the one that Caleb and John did for the Bendy and the Ink Machine cover.
Oh, that was the Gospel of Dismay.
You guys know we're publishing that, right?
Wait, what?
Because-
Huh?
Yeah, Rooster Teeth is publishing that. That's it.
Oh,
Bendy and the Ink Machine. All right, we'll talk more after this.
No, I'm
too.
my question
Another
is,
panel.
you guys
We're gonna get
have
sued.
a lot of modern covers, and John, I know at least, has done a few 80s covers. Are you going to go back any further? Because every time I look for, you know, the Three Dog Night cover, Doobie Brothers cover, Temptations cover, you guys are not anywhere on the list. And I'm like, when am I going to get that from you guys about my favorite genre of music, which is the 60s and the 70s?
A Temptations cover.
Oldies but goodies,
Fire.
right? There you
Yeah.
go.
This Temptations cover was pretty
This
fire.
question, I love you for asking that question, but this question hurts my heart to answer because I grew up on the Beatles and Stevie Wonder and you know, Mark Cohen, Jackson Brown, all these guys from, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s, but there just isn't a large enough YouTube audience. When I have tried to do Billy Joel covers in the past, unless it's from a Disney movie, it gets less than 100,000 views, and that's usually a red flag for me to stop doing that type of cover. You know, if there's a Billy Joel song from a Disney movie, hell yeah, I'll knock that shit out of the park because I love Billy Joel, and I will take any excuse I can to do something like Billy Joel or DuckTales or Rescue Rangers or whatever, because I love 80s jams, 70s jams, all that stuff. But the people who are subscribing to my YouTube, I can literally see the graph that says that 90% of my subscribers are between the ages of 17 and 35. And unfortunately, I love the music from before those people were born, but many of the people that were born, you know, between 1980 and you know 2000 don't listen to that kind of music. So if I knew that there was a big audience for it, I would absolutely love to do some Beatles covers, some Stevie Wonder covers, but
I was born in '83, so
there you go.
I'm in a demographic that
There you go. Well, if I find more people like you, I will absolutely jump on that, man.
Also, did anyone else think he was gonna die because he started choking immediately and he's wearing a red shirt?
Oh no!
Oh, okay, good.
We're safe.
We're good.
The only,
I need more water is my problem.
The only thing I want to add to that too is it's not that, because I agree with what John said. What I'm trying to do in a lot of cases is because I kind of have that issue where there's songs that I know and love, but I'll never do it, older or otherwise, just not well-known bands or whatnot. And I've been playing around with the idea of taking things that I love that do really well, so like like a very simple animation, or taking like these two characters from a show that people like to pair, and then doing like a faux music video. I'm just my point is I'm trying to find new ways to do what I love, but present it in a way that people that my audience will be like, oh, I'm really interested in that. Like I do a lot of Steven Universe covers. So what I did for a couple of Steven Universe covers, I did some songs. There's a musical called Dear Evan Hansen that was released, and now it's a huge deal. A lot of people know it. But back in 2016, it was not. It was not really well known. So I took one of the songs from it, resurfaced it, added a little story to the song from Dear Evan Hansen, and repurposed it as from the perspective of one of the Steven Universe characters. But it was just a cover of Dear Evan Hansen, but it was presented like a Steven Universe kind of thing. So I'm trying to find ways to do things that I want to do that wouldn't normally be popular, but present them in a way that is what my audience wants to see. The idea of like limitations, finding like, well, how can you work within that? And my audience wants to see Steven Universe stuff. I'll give them something to create OCs and fanfics with. Like that's what I'm thinking.
One of the main reasons I ask is, I don't know if you guys know Five Finger Death Punch.
Mm-hmm.
They took a couple of old 60s songs from a group called Bad Company. I know one was Bad Company, I can't remember what the other one was. They did a music video and they updated it, and that. It's not as good as the original, but it's not bad either. So I was like, I didn't know if you guys had
Probably wildly different too.
Huh?
Like wildly different.
Yeah, Disturbed did that with Sound of Silence too.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of doing that. I feel like I would need to find the right songs though, because I get requests for Sound of Silence, and it's like I'm not gonna do anything different than what Disturbed did. So.
Hey, I did it real low. It did well though. I mean, your voice is perfect for it.
Yeah.
It's your side.
Pink Sword.
There you go.
Yeah.
Rose's sword. Rose's.
So this question is primarily for the screw attack strategic crowd.
That works though. take 5, boys. Take 5.
Take it to
I can ask another question for the other crowd if you want me to.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
How do you feel about the current state of Western animation, specifically on YouTube? Because I've had this idea in my head recently that there isn't much animated content that's Western made, that's for like a more mature audience, that's not a comic. Stuff like an anime, Western anime equivalent.
Okay.
I think in my opinion, since the algorithm is just really kind of like being like super policed right now, it's very hard to like do just anything that kind of like tips the scale on like mature, or just kind of a little bit more adult or anything like that. And then when you put that on top of a very difficult, very time-consuming medium like animation, that's where you probably scare off potential creators. I think it's very hard. I didn't really start YouTube for the sake of just doing YouTube to create my own thing. I really just wanted to get noticed and then get picked up by a bigger thing, and in that way I can just use my creativity to help them out, and then maybe lend my talents to them, and then we all figure out whatever we're working on together. One of the things that I'm most inspired by is those individuals who do it by themselves, especially when it comes to any type of art on YouTube, because honestly, YouTube hates animation, like from watch time, from like what type of animation you do, the compression, it just isn't the right place for it. And usually the only animation that does survive, unfortunately, comes from like maybe bigger groups, maybe more like kid friendly, or just kind of like that medium to where it's not too adult, not too graphic or anything like that. So it's very tough, is what I'll say, for the Western animation and things that I think just traditional like Japanese anime and stuff, like they have their own platforms and probably don't even consider YouTube as a necessity for putting out their stuff. I mean, they have so many things that we probably don't even have access to, and then the things we do have access to provide way more access than just YouTube does already. I think there's not many things like that for Western animators. So we look towards YouTube and we look towards Twitch and all these other platforms because we do have access to them. Unfortunately, they tend to fight against the smaller group of animators, or just the animator, especially the Western one.
And because the key to that is consistency, and it's very hard for say you yourself are just an animator that wants to make this show. So say you spend like 6 months putting together like your pilot episode, and you're so stoked, and so you put it out on YouTube. It's going to take you like another 6 months to get the next episode out, and YouTube doesn't reward that. They want consistent content to help serve to people. So that's why if I were gonna do it by myself on YouTube as a solo animator, I would try and bank up animations, which is crazy to say, but don't even start my channel or whatever. Just get it as a whole consistent season ready, and then put it out there, and then do it consistently. But honestly, with the state of things currently, as an animator, I would recommend that you say you had a great idea for a show concept or something like that. I would take that time, work on a pilot, and then I would shop it to I'd go to Crunchyroll, I'd go to somebody like Rooster Teeth, I'd go to Funimation or whoever, any of these studios that are already established animation houses, and see that's probably a more likely route.
Yeah, and that's not extreme or anything, or a big difference from what it used to be. That's how it's always been. And YouTube just hasn't really conformed in a way that allows change in the animation space like it has in the podcast space or in the skit space, the live action comedy space. But on the topic of whether or not Western animation can be considered or can be successful if it's mature, I do think we're starting to see a change in that, especially when you look at stuff like Marvel and DC's movies and cartoons, or heck, the recent Samurai Jack. There's some more, maybe not R-rated stuff out there, but animation is starting to reach a point, or really starting to reach a point where anime has attracted people, and I think that's largely because anime has started developing a larger audience here. So these other companies see that and are like, oh, we can tap into this audience too. So who knows, maybe 20 years from now, we will have a much greater animation space to draw from, also on YouTube, but that's probably a long ways from now.
But it also it depends on the test bed. There can be this one thing, for example, it was like this with the film industry recently. Oh, you're not gonna do a rated R superhero movie, and then Deadpool knocked it out of the park, and then suddenly everybody's like, okay, yeah, cool, we can do Logan, and we can do more stuff. So having something that is that proving ground that is super successful, you'll see that kind of stuff accelerate change like that.
Yeah. That is Netflix's Castlevania series.
Which is awesome.
I actually thought of that too.
Yeah, super cool.
Just thank God for Netflix to do something like that, because these companies hate taking risks, and mature animation is still considered a risk. So the more the better. Even freaking Sausage Party. I hate that movie, but I am glad that it exists because of this. If that makes sense.
Yep.
Your turn.
Oh, okay. Torrian?
Oh. I gotta do, let's go on this side of the room. Let's do the wrestling belt here. I like it.
What's the process of making Death Battle?
Ha! The process of making Death Battle.
Like an episode, I guess, right? Is that what you mean?
An episode of Death Battle. Right, cool. Totally got it. And I really hope you censor it when she watches it.
Should be fine.
Just kidding.
I'm a great dad.
I'm a great dad.
He says the giggles.
No, I like it. It's great. It's awesome.
It is a whole big thing. I'll tell you what, Ben, I haven't talked a lot. You want to go through the process of Death Battle?
Oh my God.
We got an hour left.
Do we? All
No,
right,
less than.
Okay, well, we got plenty of time to fill. So, let me try to break down. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible, because it is a large process. Because basically, we have a couple different parts to reach. There's the research part of it, where we have to look at these characters. Well, there's two parts, really. We have to look at these characters and decide whether or not it will be a good matchup. Because sometimes we look into them at first, and it's like, oh, Thor versus Raiden. Obviously, one's gonna stomp. We unfortunately did that one anyway. But nowadays we would say probably shouldn't do that. And then if we decide that it's a good matchup, then we go into the more in-depth research process, and that is digging into comics, movies, novels, background guides, like official sources of any sort, and writing down notes, writing down time codes, figuring out where everything is so that other people in the process will know where we found some information about like Thor shooting lightning at a moon and it explode or something like that. Like it's at this specific movie, this specific point. We have to know that. Everybody has to know that. So we gather all the research, and then we have a debate day with everybody who is involved with that episode. And we usually have a group of researchers. We have us as the hosts, and we have a writer as well as an editor. And all these people are involved in this debate because all of them have been involved in the discussion at some point up till this point. And then once we all come to a not universal, what is the word?
Unanimous.
Unanimous, that one.
Agreement.
Unanimous agreement on who should win, which usually takes a long time.
Yes, it does.
And a lot of back and forth and a lot of devil's advocate stuff.
I hate it when they're so close and like we have the longest meeting ever, and then like finally it's like, okay, we've got it, and then somebody like the next day is like, but, and you're just like, no! Like, so anyway.
That happens more often than it should. Than it really should.
It's just like the one where your favorite characters got crushed, like how my favorite characters got crushed.
Oh, sorry about that.
Everybody's got a favorite character who's gonna get destroyed in a death battle, unfortunately. We've done almost 100 of these episodes.
You should tone it down on that episode, though.
Well,
usually pretty common.
Once we figure out who has won, at this point we've basically spent like maybe 4 weeks through the research process, because we give the research team some time while maybe the writer and editor are working on another episode, and then they come in and kind of like meet up with the research team, catch up with them, and then start working on stuff. So that's 4 weeks. Then it's to the writing phase, and we got a host script to write, which is what Wiz and Boomstick say on camera, and then we have a battle script to write. These are two entirely different things. So we'll write the battle script and hand it to somebody like Torrian.
Because the animation process in itself, whether we're doing 2D or 3D animation, takes quite a while.
A long time.
It's most of the time, like, I guess once they get to like 70% of their process, it starts to run parallel to the rest of the processes. So while editing is going on, while they're finalizing who wins or these specific things that are happening, they pretty much just get like a rough battle script, and we start working on pre-production and just animation that's just kind of like generalized and doesn't really go too much into like who wins or whatever until we get final word from them about who wins, stuff like that. And then we really do a hard push on getting animation out right alongside editing is being done and final, cleanup or just, tits and tats.
Right, like while we're doing all the research, because Tori knows we're going to be doing, say, this last one is Ryu versus Jin. He knows we're working on the research for that, so he's working on finding assets for it. Like, we got to get a Ryu model, we got to get a Jin model. Where are they going to fight? He's talking to the writer about different ideas. Once we know who's going to win, we write the battle script, hand it to him, and then that can be anywhere from a 6 to 12 week process of animating. Typically, 2D animations are a little more straightforward because there's less assets involved in terms of 3D models and things like that.
Or models breaking.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for a 3D animation to break on you and just everything goes wrong than a 2D animation where
renders
you're doing
crashing,
all hand drawing and stuff like that.
That's why you can't do it by yourself on YouTube. No.
And that's the whole process. And while that animation process is going on, we also write the host script, which usually takes a week or two, and then we voice that, and then we have to edit that, and that usually takes its own week or two because we have to go in, find footage for everything we talk about, line it up with how we talk about it, show all the math, show all the stuff that we have established through the script, like how strong is Ryu, how strong is Jin, how fast are they, et cetera, et cetera. And hopefully by the time the animation is done, the editing has already been completed and we can post the episode.
No, but then we send the animation off to our sound.
Oh yeah, that part.
There's
a lot.
Also, during this time, we get in touch with some of our composers, which again, by the way, guys, we'll talk more after this because we totally, we totally have a couple composers that we work with for writing original fight tracks for like all of our death battles, and sometimes it's a lot of fun because we can do a lot of inspired like by the characters by creating a new original piece of work, and so we'll get in touch with them. And that goes hand in hand with the animation because Torrian, as an animator, is very, very influenced by the music that he's working to.
So as he's working on the animation, he'll be constantly communicating with the musicians sending them cuts so that they can time their music to it, and then once the animation is done, then they get the final cut so they can complete their final cut of the music, put that in with the animation, and then we send that to sound so they can mix it with the audio of, oh, I didn't even mention voice actors.
But I'm gonna inject with
we hired voice actors earlier so that they are recorded before we even get the script to them.
I'm gonna inject with a very scary, very rare scenario. Everything's going good. Everything he said is right. Everything I said is right. The animators are feeling good. We high-five each other, having lunch. Everyone's just hanging out. We're animating. And then Ben comes over and says, I think the other person wins. The animators all look at each other.
Because we found this.
We flip tables. We pour gasoline on everything, as if we do not want any evidence that we ever even started this in the first place. And then, lo and behold, Ben comes back to me again. Sorry, we were right the first time. Carry on. After we've burned down all the computers and stormed out of the building and protested them.
It's very rare.
That's not exactly how it happened.
It's very rare, but they're having just a couple of occasions where we found some really obscure, buried in the deep net thing that especially when you're doing the character that has 50 years of comic history. That's awesome to go through. Just think about that. Or Naruto, that's something that has over 200 episodes of anime.
Because here's the thing, everything we just talked about that we're working on. Now imagine us doing that for 4 episodes all at once.
Yep.
So 1 episode is in the editing phase, 1 episode is in the animation phase, 1 is in the writing phase. This is all going on all at the same time.
So it's like a 4 to 6 month process just per episode, pretty much, except you're running 4 or 5 at a time?
I would say an average of 14.
No, it's
it's
probably 3 to 4 months.
He's right. He's right on.
It's all over the place. But there's a lot of stuff going on. So there will be times when we do a research discussion, and then we say, okay, this character sounds like they'll win. And then we go through the process of writing the scripts, and I get the script, and I'm like, okay, let's discuss the script. And we're going through it, and we say, wait, this argument actually doesn't make sense. Looks like we gotta change the winner. And the animation team has already been working on animation. That doesn't happen very often.
Is this what you did by the Raven vs. Twilight, or instant winner?
Raven vs. Twilight, I think we were pretty locked down on after the discussion.
Yeah.
But Ryu vs. Jin, we did change. We originally thought Jin was gonna win, but going into the argument, we realized we didn't have quite a solid lock on certain strength and speed feats, so we looked more into it and realized that Ryu would actually win.
So the 2 people who are doing the death scene and the mocap, they have to switch places. You're like, I'm dying. You're like, no, it's the other person. He's like, you get to die.
My favorite part is how Torrian's clearly not bitter about that at all.
It's great. It's great. Now
it's part of what we do.
Yeah. It's easy because again, animation takes so long. There's so many moving parts. It's extremely rare that we've even gotten to that point if a change has to be made.
That guy's like, now I know how to make Death Battle. That's all I needed, and then he's gone. All right.
If whoever's responsible.
Hang on, man. We gotta get to other people's questions.
Real quick, I will say, if you do have any more Death Battle specific questions,
go tomorrow, right?
We do have 3 Death Battle panels throughout the whole weekend, so we'd love to talk even more about that then as well.
So we can keep this one to YouTube and that kind of stuff.
Assassin's Creed Blade guy. Yes.
So last year when there was only Chad James and RichaardEB here, I asked you a question. Chad James, I'm looking at name badge.
Oh, sorry.
I was like, this is my first year, man.
It worked. It worked.
Oh no! It totally worked.
Okay. Yes.
All right, guys, shuffle.
Okay. What's your question?
Still like my name. I'm gonna look at it.
Oh no! I got mine back.
No.
I'll be rich.
I don't want to be James.
Okay, I'll have it then.
Hang on. Let's make sure we can hear you.
The important question: who between the 2 of you was the most humble?
Yeah, I remember that question.
I remember that question too.
Now that the Cal is much bigger, has that ranking changed?
Who's the most humble? I don't know them. I don't know their character.
I'm clearly the most humble. I'm the most humble. I'm the most humble because I'm still hoping none of you figure out that I'm a fraud.
Same.
I'm somewhere
It's
in
him.
the middle.
He couldn't even answer.
It's
He
Caleb.
just-
No.
It's Caleb's the most humble.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Okay. Sure.
All right, our turn.
All right.
Ben, it's your turn.
Let's do the sword all the way in the back. Ow.
Out of all of the episodes that you guys did created, what is your favorite? You have a favorite one that you're like, yes, I'm so excited and finally do either cover
Yeah.
or maybe
Like that we just
Favorite
feel proud
video
about.
we've ever created. Oh man.
Down the line, here we go.
I don't want to start that because I gotta think.
Okay,
There's a
Rich.
lot of stuff.
Oh my god.
Keychain.
First of all, I would like to say on behalf of myself to the Death Battle crew, I want to praise you guys for how right you were about the Yang versus Tifa fight.
Thanks, man.
I know.
Teaser! This is our show, great. The one was like, yeah, great job. Everyone's like, ooh, I don't know. Talk to you later.
But getting that out of the way, I just want to say personally to RichaardEB, your heavy metal cover of Bad Apple was one of the best songs I've heard in my life. And on a personal note, I made it my personal theme song for myself and my Bullet Club wrestling persona.
That's awesome.
And bonus points for getting Christina B on vocals for it.
Yeah, she killed it.
Yeah, so, but the question I have for you is, do you plan on doing your heavy metal version of Bad Apple with Japanese lyrics, you know, just like, you know, the original version?
Real quick, do we just like totally ignore that other dude's question?
Yeah.
No, I think we accidentally skipped it.
Yeah, what
We'll
happened?
do that.
I have
We'll
no
do
idea
that.
what
I thought it was
Think
answered.
about your favorite video.
I was
I'll go down
thinking
the
about it, and
line.
all of a sudden another question.
Okay.
Answer
Did I miss it?
answer that question first.
God, okay. Like,
One of my favorite, from like a death battle perspective, I can say, one of my favorite videos we ever worked on was He-Man versus Lion-O. Because I'm a big He-Man fan and Thundercat fan, and Ben and I just had a blast doing that episode because I took He-Man, he took Thundercats, and like every day we'd come back into the office and I'd be like, aha, look at this, some absurd feat that should not exist. And he's like, oh yeah? Well, here's this. And we'd just go back and forth every day. And then writing the script was really fun because it was like, we got to write like our own unofficial little crossover of He-Man and Lion-O. And you know, of course, we had to make it a little ridiculous and campy, and it was really fun.
I've got one. This is by no means our best episode or even my favorite episode that we've done, but the one that I'm most proud of and that I felt like really good about for a very long time was Starscream versus Rainbow Dash.
Yeah!
And here's why. Here's why.
See that guy? That's his favorite.
Well, when we made Death Battle, when I started Death Battle, what I wanted to do was surprise people. Like, make an episode that would examine a character that maybe people wouldn't really think about examining, looking into what they can do, and really present that character in a new way. And I feel like Starscream versus Rainbow Dash was the first time I really accomplished that. And that stuck with me for the longest time.
And a fun little behind-the-scenes thing. If you guys know the YouTuber Pro Jared, he used to work for Screw Attack, and that was actually his suggestion that he threw out on the car ride to lunch one day as a joke, because it was like, it would be like boys versus girls, and it was Hasbro properties, ha ha ha. And they were like, oh yeah, whatever. And then Ben just like Googles Rainbow Dash, and then we're all like, holy hell! Like, the pony could actually fight.
I'm actually, we're approaching our 100th episode of Death Battle right now, and I'm actually publishing a series of daily blogs on Rooster Teeth. And I'm coming up on that episode. Every blog discusses an episode, so that will really, when that comes up, that will really dive into
I want to
the
see
story
that
of how that
blog.
worked. Yeah, it'll be up in a couple days.
Where was it, on YouTube?
That's on Rooster Teeth.
It'll be on Rooster Teeth. I'll link it on my Twitter whenever it's up. It's every day I cover a new episode, so, or an old episode.
All right, so now your question for them.
Yes.
All right, sorry.
yeah,
I
sorry,
didn't mean to
you guys
cut you
didn't
guys
answer your
off.
best videos thing.
And I also didn't. I swear he's not a plant that I put there just to praise me and cut you guys off. Anyway,
It's okay. Have you met our plant?
you asked about Japanese translation for Bad Apple from
Yeah,
me
you mean
specifically.
like someone singing the Japanese lyrics like the original version of the song?
I've entertained that idea. That's I mean, yeah, Caleb kind of wants to do it.
I can do it.
He's it could happen. I've tossed the idea around a little bit with a few people. Could be Caleb, could be Lalia, could be Adrisaurus. I don't know. It could happen. I'm not sure.
It's all good.
And favorite video you've ever done?
Skyrim.
The Skyrim.
All right.
Something Broadway. Something for Broadway. Those are my favorite things to sing.
So is it our turn now? I'm still
no,
confused about the question.
we called. Oh wait, no, yeah, they
Then
just
you
did on
call.
him. So yeah, it's our turn again.
Yes.
I think it's me this time. This dude's been holding up his glasses this whole time. What's up?
What advice would you have to give? What's the best advice you think you could give to aspiring YouTubers who are maybe having trouble getting a foothold on the platform? Like either they don't have a lot of views, they don't have a lot of subscribers, and they just want to like do things on YouTube, but they just don't have the audience for it.
That is the question that we get asked pretty much every time we're talking about this kind of stuff. One, I'm going to be real honest. Luck definitely has some stuff to do with it. There's absolutely a reality in that. Maybe you happen to meet somebody sometime who wants to do a collab with you that is the thing that puts your video in front of an audience that then it lets it take off. Or maybe you just hit this funny, incredibly hilarious, whatever it is, video that just happens to find the right person who then shares it with the right community that then lets it take off, and that's what gives you your notice. Honestly, like what I was kind of saying earlier, like 100%, like really be true to you. Don't try and be someone else. Like even if it's your own take on something, just think about what's something that you can do your way, right? That only you can do, and then make that content and just keep making that content, and also listen to feedback, and don't be afraid to take constructive criticism, because sometimes that's hard for creators. Like I know, like especially like for us when it comes to like writing a script, like I'm very good at going through someone else's script and being like, oh hey, like we can cut that, we don't really need that, that's going on a little too long yet. But like I'll write a script, and then it'll be like somebody else will be like, oh we don't really need that. I'm like, oh but like it's like really good, like and it's like, oh you're right, we really didn't need that. So definitely getting someone that you trust, who has like a good eye, who can give you feedback that you can listen to, will help you hone your content. And then honestly, man, try and make relationships. Like go to places, meet people, find somebody else who's in your space who you click with, and find opportunities for crossovers, collaborations, and like that's honestly like kind of your best bet currently.
Yeah, I think networking is the easiest way, or probably the best way to try to build that viewership. Because yeah, if you just keep popping out videos left and right, even if they're really great, if you're not making a lot of views, unless something changes in how they're distributed, you're going to make the same amount of views each time. But if you start talking to other people and getting them to either share your videos or maybe get a collab with somebody, that can help that out a lot. And that doesn't necessarily mean like reach out to, like if you're a music channel, immediately reach out to somebody like these guys. Maybe reach out to somebody who's like doing the same thing you're doing, maybe having the same struggles, working with them. And together you guys can share each other's audiences and then build from there. Share with another person's audience and build from there.
Stair step it. Like don't shoot for that person who's like, oh you've got like 1 million subscribers, you've got 4 million subscribers. Like find somebody who is just like, maybe like 30,000 more subscribers than you or something like that, right? And see if you can do some of them, and then see how that goes and see where that takes you.
But maybe luck will play a factor, and you will find one of these guys, or like Nate Wants to Battle or somebody like that, and they want to suddenly collab with you for some reason. It can be any reason. When it comes down to luck, it's not necessarily that you just need to be lucky, it's that whenever that lucky opportunity presents itself, you need to be ready for it. You need to be ready to capitalize on it. So that's why it's important to keep pushing yourself and not just wait for that lucky moment to happen.
Did your phone just go off?
Nice.
That's okay.
Work hard, but also work smart. Be self-aware, and know your audience and who you want your audience to be. Consistency is very important, and knowing what you're trying to do and how to get there, and learning whatever you need to learn to set that path in front of you is really important.
Only thing I would add to it, because they've all said a lot of wonderful things, I would say make sure you love what you're doing. Make sure you love it, because once you do get to a point, and this isn't me crying poor meaning anything at all, but like with any job, it has its ups and downs, and with this one in particular, for me, I know personally, the more you focus on trying to please others and trying to do the right things and be creative in the space you are, the more you can slowly start to forget why you love it, because it's also the thing that makes you your money. It fundamentally has another priority in your life outside of just loving it. Because when you're really young, I remember when I was 12 or something, I would sing songs and post them on the internet just because I liked doing that and I wanted to be a performer of some kind, but it wasn't attached to anything else. And then money came into play, and it served a new purpose as well. So make sure that your heart is in the right place about what you are doing, like 100%, because if and when the money does start coming in, it becomes a career, you will run into that question and that issue of loving what you do and trying to remember that you do. So that's my thing to add on to everyone saying, is just make sure you don't forget that you're passionate about it and that you love it. Just, yeah.
The last thing that I would add to that, because that's all very solid advice, is especially if you're like just starting, like your channel is like really early in its stages, along with like doing something that you actually enjoy doing, because you're more likely to keep doing it. Be realistic. Like if you put out a video and it gets 10 views, 100 views, that's not necessarily a failure. If you put out 20 videos and you're still around there, that's not necessarily a failure. Sometimes it takes a really long time, and like these guys said, a lot of it is luck. So promote your videos, work hard, work smart, be realistic, and love what you do.
Let's try and get to as many questions as we can here.
Yeah.
Let's none of us spend more than 15 seconds on these,
All
so
right.
we can get through lightning round here, because we've been really dragging on some of these questions.
Yeah.
Let's. You've been holding up your turtle wallet for a while here.
Notebook. I'll take
Notebook.
So I've actually never seen the death battles before, and I thought it was very, very similar to Super Fight. How do you guys ever play that game at all? Just out of curiosity.
The card game?
Yeah.
Yes. I actually don't remember Super Fight came out before or after, but I hadn't played it before we made it.
Does it feel like you're at work when you play Super Fight?
No,
Not
fortunately
fun.
it is a completely different thing. Super Fight is so silly and ridiculous.
Do you own at it? Like, are you super good at Super Fight? Like, no one wants to play with
terrible
you
at those
anymore?
kinds of card games, to be honest.
Are you like, oh, Wiz is gonna bring this up?
No, yeah, we've played it like once or twice, and like, yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting and super fun.
Yeah.
Check out your videos.
Oh, cool, thanks. All right, it's our turn now?
Yeah,
Like, comment.
Oh, wait, it's Torrian's turn, you go.
Oh, I Gundam guy.
My question is like taking more towards the musical side of the table. Have you guys noticed more of a shift in the algorithm, like a positive shift since YouTube released the music app?
Negative.
No, not
It's
really.
been a negative shift.
Nothing really.
We are being obligated to jump through a bunch of hoops in order for our music to be circulated through the new music system. Like, they're making us upload all of our album art separately so that they can upload our songs as a separate album art video. It's really lame. I hope that we see something positive out of it. It seems like YouTube is trying to be Spotify, and I wish that they would just stick to being YouTube.
That surprised me because like I normally, if I go on there, the first videos I get are generally yours and Caleb's, and I'll play them for hours.
We have, I don't want to talk too much or speak for these guys, but almost every music channel that I know has seen a slow decrease in views over every algorithm change in the past 5 years.
I don't think there's going to be much positive talk about the algorithm.
It's an uphill battle.
You guys.
Red Cup way in the back.
Actually, I have a question for you.
Oh man.
What kind of music do you actually find the most enjoyable to play? Because I'm personally more of a punk rock than I
I love really cheesy metal, so like 80s metal, as well as I love blues and jazz, and I love like fusion, funk rock, like dirty loops. Like the guitar stuff that I do is the most fun to me.
All right, is it me?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. This blue-haired character. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry. Oh, the one that we're talking about.
I love basketball. It's one of my favorite sports.
Oh man.
But this is kind of a question for everyone since Jonathan brought it up earlier. Like YouTube is the best way to reach your audience.
Hello?
But with the algorithm issues and everything, like do you
I'm in
guys
a panel on screw
Trying to
Say that again?
do you guys like see yourself moving to a new platform because of the algorithm issues? Like, is there a new platform?
So that's one of the things that's really cool about us being a part of Rooster Teeth. Sorry, I was trying so not to laugh. This is taking a phone call right here. So like that's one thing that we suggest very much as like from a business perspective. We're incredibly lucky that we have a parent company that has a platform outside of that, and we very much are aware. Like it doesn't make sense to throw all of your eggs in one basket, especially it's on a platform that you don't control. So like absolutely, like, you know, we've said it multiple times, but like also, you know, we encourage creators constantly to like have a backup plan, like find another platform where your stuff can exist and start encouraging your audience to understand that that exists there. Because again, like at the end of the day, like all of us are beholden to changes that Google makes, and sometimes like I am very confident that this thing has become this beast that they don't even understand, and they try and make one little change that might serve someone positively, and it just absolutely destroys other people. And the other thing too is they're so, like, they can make a quick, rash decision to solve a quick problem that hurts people long term. For example, the recent adpocalypse and what happened with that. They had anti-Semitic ads get served on you know, channels, and of course then advertisers started freaking out, or sorry, they had ads served on like anti-Semitic or hate speech channels. And so advertisers, of course, freaked out on YouTube, and that makes YouTube then go, oh God, like that's where we get all of our money. Okay, just like blanket start just demonetizing the hell out of everything if it has anything offensive, right? And that hit a bunch of people. And I know we're supposed to keep these answers short. I'm sorry, this is such an important issue with YouTube right now. So for example, like one of the creators who's under Rooster Teeth is Funhouse. Funhouse got absolutely annihilated by that. And the only reason I think that they're still going is, one, they're super creative and adaptive people, but because they had a parent company like Rooster Teeth, they could help support them through that time. And you know, having another platform where people can go and watch their content and other sources of revenue are incredibly important. Merchandise and just another platform is super, super, super important.
There isn't really a platform for music that works as well as YouTube for cover artists, but if I find one, I would love to switch off of YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I will. If I don't, then I lose my career. All right, 10 minutes, lightning round, here we go. This guy's been holding up his duffel bag for a very long time.
My question kind of steps a little bit like hers. With regards to streaming on Facebook, where some of the videos, it might show your content, or even some of the screwed content, and it'll have an exploded amount of views on it, incomparable to some of the realistic views that you get on YouTube. How does that, stuff like that, affect your channels or your content when other people share it?
It's stealing.
Sucks.
It's stealing, but because the internet is in a bad place right now, we have absolutely no power to stop them from stealing. That's
Yeah, I mean, we generally,
as simple as it is.
if it's on YouTube, there we have tools, like we can go. And the thing is, like, I don't want to immediately just destroy somebody. Like, I can absolutely flag someone, I can strike them. But I usually like to reach out ahead of time and be like, hey man, I appreciate the enthusiasm for the show that you care enough to. I give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm not a dick about it.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I ask them to take it down with a certain time frame, and if they don't comply, then I'll strike them.
Yeah.
But
Facebook doesn't have those.
Facebook has no tools. I've met a couple people that just thought that they were crediting me enough, but were naive to think that just mentioning my name is going to help me at all. But if you look at the actual numbers, if I were to post a video and Caleb was in it, and the only thing that I did was put a link to Caleb's channel in the description, if you actually look at the statistics, that link might get 100 clicks.
Yep.
And that sounds really pessimistic, but like you can actually find those numbers. So that's why when I do a video with Caleb, there's a card that says subscribe to Caleb, there's an end screen that says subscribe to Caleb, there's a text box. Well, you see it like
subscribe to Caleb.
So the idea is like, people think that, oh, I can use this person's video, and as long as I mention their name, I'm helping them. No, you're not.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
no copyright intended. God, I hate that phrase.
Yeah,
That doesn't work.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
That won't protect you in court.
That doesn't make any sense.
Is it us?
Yes.
Is dude holding up his Pokemon or a dinosaur? What is that? Yeah, that's you.
Yeah.
When you guys make your songs, how long do you usually have to take to make them?
Could be anywhere between like a day, depending on how hard it is for me, or a week, depending on how much I struggle over if I like it or not.
Screw that, let's switch to music.
Takes a day.
Yeah.
We crank them out. It's got a year's worth of content backlog. We just sit back and just paychecks.
It's a case-by-case basis. If I'm doing the Skyrim theme and I want to be extra and have 50 layers of vocals on it, that'll take me almost a month to do. But this past week, I paid someone to make the instrumentals for 10 songs for me, and Caleb and I knocked out 10 videos in a week. So, so it's all a case, but those videos, none of them are going to be as good as the Skyrim theme, at least to me, because, you know, it's you get what you put out. So.
Yeah, it really depends. I can't really add too much more to that, though.
You guys' turn.
Lotion.
Most hated video, the one you just want to take off.
Blue Dabba D.
Wally's theme. Oh, most hated? I don't. It's probably like some old voice acting demo reel that I did that I'm not happy about, and it's buried deep in my channel, like 2009 kind of stuff. So I don't. Yeah. It's not. I don't know. I try not to be like. I mean, yeah, that was me then, and that's still a part of me to a degree. So nothing I I don't know. I don't like hating things. Now everyone else feels guilty for hating.
Lightning round, most hated video.
The one I wanted to lead is some video that we made like 10 years ago where I ate a bunch of salsa raw and almost died, and it's really embarrassing.
Oh, man. We made a lot of really dumb things. When you have to produce a skit show every week, when you have to concept, write, film, edit, and post it on Friday, sometimes
you make it in Friday.
You make it
all
Friday.
that in Friday.
Yeah, and then it posts on Saturday.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do some dumb stuff. And there's quite a few out there. So some of those would be great. Other than that, I'd love to revoice like some of the first couple death battles because I didn't really have the boomstick voice down then, and I'd like to do that. Torrian, worst thing you've ever made?
Oh, nothing. I'm perfect.
Most humble person.
All right, come on, Switch, get it out.
I'm saving you three for tomorrow, though, but I want to...
That scared the shit out of me.
It's gonna do the switch.
All right. What's your question? What's your question? Let's try to get some more people.
You ever heard of Pop Team Epic, right?
Pop Team Epic? I've heard of them, yes.
I was thinking, since there's some people that did covers to that opening song, were you thinking of doing
I have
one?
not been thinking of that. If you want to request a cover, let's talk about that later. But let's get to some YouTube questions.
Yes.
I don't want to be mean or anything. But,
That's cool.
But if we said, all right, questions can include songs that you want me to do, then I think we'd see a couple more hands going up. So,
sorry about that.
No, it's all good, man.
It's you guys.
Coke.
Okay.
Hi, Monica.
What? Okay. As a person who would like to do covers on YouTube, but also wants to be able to monetize them, for the background music,
You're getting excited.
I don't know where to go for to make custom instrumental.
Yes. I like this question. I can answer this question very quickly and efficiently. Find either a site that has karaoke tracks that are royalty free, but you will not be allowed to sell those on iTunes. Or find someone who is willing to make instrumentals for you for cheap and get their permission to sell it and split the royalties with them.
Dude, straight up, just look up instrumentals of your favorite tracks, and sometimes you'll find.
Send
people
us
and
an
just-
email. We know some people. Otherwise, seriously, one of the guys, we paid a guy who has 250 subscribers or something to do a whole bunch of. No, he has more than that.
Oh,
now.
there
He
was
has
there was a
2,000.
guy who did a History Maker.
They are hidden in the woodwork everywhere, and there are more people than you would expect that pay people to do instrumentals. There are some big anime cover channels that pay people to do all of their instrumentals, and it's not that expensive either. It's maybe at most a couple $100 a song to commission a really high quality instrumental.
Get a contract. Absolutely, get a contract.
Get a contract. There are some sites where you can find karaokes that you can use, but the key is that if you or someone that you are working with did not make the instrumental, you cannot sell it on iTunes. But if all you want to do is post the cover on YouTube, you can just look up a karaoke track and post it on YouTube, and you might get acclaim, you might not, but be careful. If you have money to throw around, hire somebody.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, it's us. That dude's holding up his phone, sure.
Second question, really quick. I just wanted to know the other two guys' names because we played the.
Oh, man, I feel like we really messed you up. You guys want us to go back, or is that just time for more changing places?
Let's fix this.
Yeah. There we go.
All the way down to Rich.
Who's Ben?
Hey, Ben.
So, like, RichaardEB is your channel. Like, you gentlemen, your channel is your name?
Yes,
Oh,
Jonathan
okay.
Young, Caleb Hyles.
Actual question. So, like, with Death Album and stuff, like, when you involve people, other people's property, how do you monetize those? Like, what's the short version of that? Like, what's the rules for that?
Sure. So the quick version of that is that technically we are performing commentary over everything, and we are educational. Fair use is a very, very interesting
Educational,
thing.
historical.
Right. Educational, historical. What we essentially, here's the deal. The frankness of it is fair use is determined on a case-by-case basis. So at the end of the day, any one of these companies can come after us. If they do, then we say we take it to court. The judge will basically determine, are people watching our show for this content that we create, for our commentary and what we're doing and what we're making, or are they just coming there for the characters? And that decision will kind of affect us. Honestly, I feel like if we'd launched this show like nowadays, we would have gotten destroyed early on. But luckily, we've been doing this show for so long and we've become big enough that I don't think companies really want to mess with us.
Yeah, pump that chest down. Pump that chest down.
No,
Bring it.
and I'm not saying that like cocky or anything like that. That is a real PR issue because like, so imagine like when we have a show with the following that we have, and if suddenly a company tells us we can't make it anymore and we put that out there, they don't want to deal with the backlash.
Yeah, it's the same with cover songs. Most companies know that we are helping them. You know?
Right.
Like Disney typically doesn't take covers down because they know that it's building up hype around their movies.
Okay, we've got one more minute. So this is up to you guys to pick the last question.
Okay.
Don't point at me like I got. There you go. Let John do it.
Can I challenge you to a death battle?
Yes.
Listen, man, I have to pee so bad right now, you don't even want to come at me. Let's do a real last question. She's been holding up this Pokeball, I think, for this whole time. Listen, we try. Okay.
I have a longer question, but I don't worry. I think I'll back up because it would take too long. So when the YouTube algorithm, I know that's like a curse word, but shutters.
Cursed images.
But when they, 1 minute, it's really hard to talk.
It's okay. It's okay. You got this.
When there's a change in the YouTube algorithm, do you just like log on to YouTube and like having a happy little day and you just see 30% decrease, or do you get like an email for like YouTube at YouTube? You're screwed, buddy.
They don't tell you anything. We never get an email.
They don't tell you. They just do
Sometimes it's
stuff.
a sudden drop. Sometimes it seems like our views are slowly going down for no explained reason.
Yeah.
It often takes some investigating to figure out exactly why things are going a little wrong or a little different.
Yeah, you get like a week of content and you're like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah. And then like a week later, the YouTube Twitter will be like, in response to someone else's question about it, like, oh yeah, we made a change, sorry.
Yep.
It's awful.
Oh, that's the first.
Actually,
yeah.
When you know, legitimately,
Actually, yes.
when you see it on your channel,
Yeah.
the first thing you do is you check out other people's channels. You're like, please also be sucking right now.
That's the worst. That's half of what we talk about. Like, it sucks. It's like, so man, how is your channel doing?
Equivalent of looking over a cubicle at each other.
Is it doing worse like mine is?
And that's the YouTube panel.
All right, well, on that downer of a note,
Thank you guys so much. Thanks, guys.